The ranch wife, Karen McAllister, stood on the porch of the home place at 4:47 a.m., coffee gone cold in the tin mug she'd carried since 1988. The Montana sky was the color of a fresh bruise, and the wind smelled like snow coming early. 48 hours ago, her husband Wade had rolled the Polaris down the coulee and never came up again. The coroner said broken neck, instant. The hand said hell of a way for a man to go. Nobody said much else. They just kept glancing at the pretty young vet tech riding in the front pew at the funeral, the one wearing Wade's silver buckle he'd won at Cheyenne in '99. Her name was Jess Radley, 34, auburn hair, soft voice, always smelled faintly of hay and betadine. She'd been shoeing their horses and pulling calves for 6 years. Yesterday, at the church in Livingston, their oldest boy, Luke, 29, married, already balding like his dad, had stood up after the eulogy and said, "Dad wanted me to thank Jess. She was the one who really kept this place running the last few years. She was family." Karen had felt every eye in the little Lutheran church slide past her like she was made of smoke. Now the yard was quiet, except for the low hum of the generator and the occasional bawl of a calf looking for breakfast. The hands wouldn't be up for another hour. She set the mug on the rail, pulled on Wade's old Carhartt coat, still too big for her even after 37 years, and walked to the barn. Inside, the light was the color of weak tea. She found the folder exactly where she'd left it last night, tucked behind the stack of old brand inspection books on the top shelf. Manila, labeled Vet Receipts 2019-2025. She carried it back to the house like it was nitroglycerin. At the kitchen table, she spread the papers under the hanging lamp, page after page of invoices from Radley Veterinary Services. Normal stuff at first. Preg checks, vaccines, C-sections. Then, starting 4 years ago, the numbers got weird. 10 grand here, 15 there, always rounded, always paid out of the ranch operating account. Notes in Wade's handwriting. Radley Consulting, herd health planning. Except Jess had never once sat down with Karen to talk herd health, and the checks were deposited into an LLC called JR Land and Cattle. Karen had seen that LLC before, on a quitclaim deed she'd found last winter when she was looking for the mineral rights file. 40 acres of prime river bottom deeded over to JR Land and Cattle 2 years ago. Wade had told her it was just a tax thing. She'd believed him because believing him was what she did. She poured fresh coffee she didn't taste and opened her laptop. The Park County Assessor's website loaded slow. She typed in the parcel number she'd memorized at 2 a.m. Owner, JR Land and Cattle, LLC. Registered agent, Jessica Marie Radley. 40 acres. Their 40 acres. The best hay grounds on the place. The piece Wade always said would go to the boys. She closed the lid and looked out at the dark. Somewhere out there, Jess was probably asleep in the little white house Wade had helped her buy in town, dreaming about calving season on land that wasn't hers. Yet, the funeral luncheon was held in the sale barn because the church basement was too small. Half the valley showed up with casseroles and pies. Jess wore a simple black dress and stood near the coffin like she belonged there. Luke kept a hand on her elbow. Their middle boy, Cole, home from the oil field, just stared at his boots. Youngest, Wyatt, still in college at Bozeman, hadn't stopped crying. Karen wore the same navy wool skirt she'd worn to her own mother's funeral. She smiled, thanked people, refilled coffee. When someone hugged her and whispered, "You holding up okay?" she answered, "The Lord never gives us more than we can carry." She'd been saying it so long she almost believed it. At 2 o'clock, the lawyer, Harlan Gray, asked the family to step into the little office behind the auction ring. Harlan had handled McAllister paperwork since before Karen married in. He laid the will on the desk like it was radioactive. Wade had signed a new one 18 months ago. Everything, the ranch, the equipment, the cattle, the operating account, went to Jessica Marie Radley in gratitude for her years of devotion to the McAllister ranch and family. The boys got $10,000 each. Karen got the 2009 Dodge pickup and personal effects. Luke didn't even look surprised. Cole's face went white. Wyatt started crying again. Karen folded her hands in her lap and waited until Harlan finished reading. Then she said, very softly, "That's interesting, Harlan. Because Wade signed a post-nup in 2005, the one that says any transfer of real property outside blood relatives is null unless I co-sign. You got a copy of that one handy? Harlan's mouth opened, closed. Jess's head snapped around. That's not. Karen reached into her purse and laid the post-nuptial agreement on the desk. Notarized, witnessed, recorded at the clerk and recorder's office the same week Wade's first affair had blown up, the one with the feed store clerk that everyone pretended never happened. Karen had made him sign it before she let him back in the house. She'd kept the original in the fire safe all these years. She added, almost conversationally, also, I've got 6 years of vet invoices that look an awful lot like embezzlement, and a quitclaim deed that was recorded while Wade was still married to me. Community property state, Harlan. You know how that goes. The room was so quiet, she could hear the auction clock ticking. Jess stood up so fast, her chair rolled back and hit the wall. This is ridiculous. Wade won it. Wade's dead. And dead men don't get to rewrite 37 years because they found someone younger who laughed at their jokes. She looked at her boys. Luke wouldn't meet her eyes. Cole looked sick. Wyatt was staring at her like he'd never seen her before. Karen gathered her papers. I'll be at the house if the sheriff needs me. She walked out past the folding tables of half-eaten ham and Jell-O salad, past neighbors who suddenly found their boots fascinating, and drove home with the windows down so the cold could slap her awake. The next week was a blur of men in ties. The sheriff, quiet and embarrassed, served papers on Jess. The brand inspector came out and ran the herd through the chute, checking earmarks and brands. 42 head of replacement heifers that should have carried the Flying M turned up with a lazy JR, fresh as yesterday's burn. Jess hired a lawyer from Billings, who talked loud and fast. Didn't help. By the end of October, the judge froze every account tied to the ranch until the books could be untangled. Jess's pretty white house went up for sale. She moved into a studio apartment above the laundromat in town. The boys came home one by one. Luke showed up first, hungover and furious. You're destroying Dad's legacy. Karen was in the corral, doctoring a calf with scours. She didn't look up. Your dad destroyed it the day he started writing checks to his girlfriend. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Cole came next, quieter, sat on the porch steps while she fed the bum lambs. I didn't know about the cattle, Mom. I swear. I believe you, she said, and handed him a bottle. The lambs sucked greedily. Wyatt came last, the week before Thanksgiving. He stood in the kitchen while she rolled out pie crust. I'm sorry, he whispered. I liked Jess. She was fun. Dad was happy with her. I didn't think about you. Karen laid the rolling pin down. Flour drifted like snow. Your dad was happy the same way a drunk is happy in a bar at 2 a.m. Doesn't make it real. She looked at her youngest, the one who still had her cheekbones. You're welcome here anytime, why? But you come as my son, not as Wade's spokesman. We clear? He nodded, eyes wet. Winter clamped down hard. 30 below some mornings. Karen ran the place with 2 old hands who'd been with them since Reagan. She sold the unnecessary iron, paid down the operating loan, and quietly bought back the 40 acres at sheriff's sale when Jess's LLC defaulted. The judge awarded her trouble damages for the converted cattle. She used it to finish the indoor arena Wade had always promised the boys. Spring came late. One April morning, the cottonwoods were just starting to green when Karen walked out to the corral in her bathrobe and boots. The hands were saddling up. She poured coffee into the same tin mug and watched the sun hit the crazy mountains, pink and purple and indifferent. Luke had moved back into the bunkhouse. Cole was talking about bringing his wife and baby girl out from Mal City. Wyatt sent texts from campus. Can I come help brand this year? Karen leaned on the fence and felt the rough wood bite into her palms, same as it had since she was 22 and newly married, and thought love was something you earned by working hard enough. She learned different. Love wasn't the working hard. Love was who showed up when the work got ugly. She took a sip of coffee, still too hot, and smiled at the mountains. The ranch was hers now, not Wade's, not Jess's, hers. And for the first time in 37 years, that felt like enough.